What's funny is only we saw that in the little behind the scenes thing, but I know no one else watching will have seen that little cut. But
Good
anyways, we are
job.
back.
Good job.
Thank you very much. I'm happy to embarrass myself in front of you three instead of in front of the audience. But welcome back to Chatooine, everybody. Today we're talking about the Ahsoka Tano series, episode 4, Fallen Jedi. Let's get into it. I feel like it's been a busy 24 hours since the episode premiered. A lot of crazy reactions. What is your guys' initial reaction just to seeing what we saw last night?
I thought it was a fantastic episode.
I agree. Connor, what
That
do you
is-
think? Palpamemes?
Oh man, I haven't been this hyped and excited for a Star Wars series or product, whatever you want to call it. And I think the last time I was this excited was Chapter 16 of The Mandalorian with Luke Skywalker. I mean, nothing compared to that, but then this coming back, Hayden Christensen, Anakin Skywalker. You can take that away. Let's say that never happened in this episode. The episode is still fantastic and some of the best Star Wars I've ever seen in my entire life. And so I see a lot of people saying online, oh, you only like it because it's fan service, but I don't think Anakin showing up to Ahsoka Tano is inherently fan service because it serves the story in a meaningful and purposeful way that actually makes complete coherent sense.
Well, we don't know that yet.
We don't. Well,
yeah, we don't know that yet. I don't
Fair.
know how you're jumping the gun. You're hoping
Someone's getting his hopes up.
I do think we should
Fair.
get into I think we should go through the episode a little bit piece by piece and kind of get into the Anakin thing at the end, because that is, I think, like the meat of this. But Palpamemes, I love what you said about how that doesn't really make or break the episode, because I'll be honest, I loved all 3 episodes that have come out so far. I've not been the biggest fan of. I've been nothing was above an 8 for me. This was a 10 out of 10, maybe like a 9.5 at worst if you take something away.
Hold on a
for
minute.
Anakin.
Why do you make it sound like an 8 is like mid?
No, I'm not saying that.
It isn't mid.
But that's what I'm saying is, like,
Someone
I
hated
think
getting B's in high school.
no, I only got C's. No, I did fine with my grades, but I thought with something like this, if it's an 8, that means it's good. 9 is great. 10, of course, is perfect. I don't think any of the episodes of Ahsoka have been really all that good or great, but this one, like Palpamemes was saying, was one of the best things we've seen since The Mandalorian, if not the best thing. It's probably better than anything we've seen in Mandalorian season 3. But I love what he said about how that the ending with Anakin, I didn't like it, but we'll talk about that at the end of the show. When he
let's get to
up,
Anakin. It's literally 2 seconds, so let's we'll save that for the end. I don't want to get to, because
absolutely
this, and I'm going to explain now because you guys know what I thought about the episode. I'm going to get into that. Because that little scene at the very end is become either what worries me, not necessarily with you guys, but in general, that everyone's getting so hyped about this episode just because of that. And it's like, if that's what gets you hyped about this show and that episode being so great, I think you're missing the point, and you could be very disappointed. And that's what worries me. That's why I don't want to talk about Anakin so much, because it's like, he really, honestly, I mean, there's supposedly going to be something coming, obviously, right? But it had nothing to do with this episode, really.
The rest of the episode didn't even really pertain to that. The rest of the episode was so focused on the characters.
The mention. I mean, Baylan. Yeah.
All right, well,
they were kind of leading up to it.
Yeah.
Let's start from the beginning.
Yes. So I'll just say, just to give you my idea. Oh, was I going to give my take on the episode?
Please.
Yeah. No. I thought, I did think it was a great episode. I've liked all 3. I thought this was a great episode. Again, I'm still not crazy about the Sabine Force thing, but they are really nerfing her. She has no power. The whole thing, he's like, you have no power. So it's. I guess I'm okay with it as far as that so far. But the episode was great, and for me, it's because the entire thing, not counting Mr. Boo Boo at the end, everything felt like Star Wars. It felt like Star Wars. And honestly, the biggest part of it that made it feel like Star Wars is, rest in peace, Ray Stevenson. That man has done a tremendous job as this character. And without many facial expressions, he's remember we talked about how Pedro Pascal, how even without his face, there was so much emotion you got from his voice and the way he said things. That's what I'm getting from Baylan as the bad guy. And he's not. I don't want to see bad guy, the antagonist, because how did this episode happen? It didn't even. It sounds like he doesn't think he's the bad guy, and he's not acting really like the bad guy, which is
That's not what villains do.
Connor said, or Palpameme said the name, and I think this is what it is, intriguing, and that's what we've been saying since episode 1.
Very intriguing. Very intriguing.
Yeah.
Oldman, what have you thought about the 4th episode?
So what made me so happy about this episode, and it was sprinkled a little bit in the first 3, but really felt it here, was that there were actual stakes that I seriously cared about in this episode. I felt like there was a sense of urgency that they needed to stop Baylan and Morgan and whatever from getting the ball. The past few shows, I never felt like there was real stakes other than seeing who was gonna show up or whatever. Like Boba Fett, no one cared about the Pike conflict. With Obi-Wan, like we kind of already knew what was gonna happen. With Mando season 3, I felt there was no stakes at all. The finale was okay, but I didn't feel there were stakes. With this, right away, they tease the potential conflict between Ahsoka and Sabine that, hey, when the moment comes, can I count on you to destroy this ball or the map and you won't be able to find Ezra? She's like, yeah, you can. That sets something for the rest of the episode that we're going to think about. So then they fight and all that. And I'm not going to go through the whole episode, but just overall first thoughts is that these episodes had stakes. I can't wait to see what happened next. And I think that's why so many people are excited. Sure, part of it's Anakin, but that there's a lot of intrigue as to what's going to happen next, as opposed to just, they're going to go to Mandalore and free it. Yay. Like, stakes is important. And I felt like a lot of these shows have been missing that.
Yeah, can I jump in here and say how nice it is to have competent villains in Star Wars again? I mean, I feel like it's been so long. I really liked Moff Gideon in season 2 and 1 of Mandalorian. He felt competent. He felt villainous. And season 3,
then it became mustache twirling in season.
Yeah,
3.
it was pretty silly. He looked like that. What's that dude's name from? Not Buzz Lightyear. Toy Story. That
Zorg.
Zorg.
Zurg. Yeah.
Zurg. And so I just really love, what Goldman was saying. We have these villains that feel like a threat, and not only that, they win. Right? They go to where Thrawn is at, or so we assume. They made it there, and that was a really nice touch.
Well, we don't even know if they made it there either. I mean, they may be in hyperspace for like a whole episode or 2, just getting there because of how far away Thrawn is.
Yeah,
I kind of hope that happens. Like,
me too. I
they
think
talk about how far the galaxy is. They talk about how far this other galaxy is. It'd be a little disappointing if the next episode just began and they arrive.
Absolutely.
Unless there's
I already have a theory on how, because we're like, how are they going to get there? They took it off. They blew it. They already showed us how they're going to get there. Well, 2 things. Again, we have to kind of talk about the end. World between worlds. But also, Indiana Jones did.
Yep.
It burned her hand.
That's going to be ridiculous.
Yeah. She's got the map on her hand.
They made it prominent for her to hold it for like a good, 25 seconds. That's fine. Not a bad idea.
That would be so ridiculous. But the thing was, the map wasn't engraved on the ball. It's like it was projected. Oh, you know what? You're probably right. That is such a Dave Filoni thing to do. Yeah. That's probably going to happen. I think that's idiotic. But
one of the biggest things going into this episode was the character of Marrok, the Inquisitor that we saw. There was so much talk around this guy about who he was, what the reveal was going to be. And in typical Star Wars fashion, they kill him off, but in I think a very satisfying way, because we all saw a mist escape from him. And everyone, I think, naturally assumes he had something to do with the Dathomir and witchcraft, and that's where Morgan Elsbeth comes into play with this. But his lightsaber fight with Ahsoka was great too. I mean, I think it was a really great way to send out the character.
For the first time,
he went out like Noob Saboit, man, just a puff of smoke. Poof.
Yeah. For the first time, I actually liked these dumbass Inquisitor lightsabers that spin. I hate those things. I thought they were terrible.
It was used in a threatening way.
I don't know, just like when it was spinning, like I don't know, it felt cool, not like when they were doing it in Obi-Wan. I don't know. It's tough thing to explain.
It was kind of like the Grievous thing from Revenge of the Sith, where he's got him spinning. But what made this cool is that he's spinning it, and then they go for that final clash, and she just slides right through him. That made the spinning thing actually pay off pretty well, as opposed to Rebels, where they fly.
I feel like it's also the sound. Like, audio engineering is so important, as we just spoke about prior to the show. The lightsaber, I don't know, it just I'm not good at explaining these thoughts on how a lightsaber sounds, but it just sounded like it had an impact to it. Like, it was like a heavy thing. I don't know.
Yeah.
You guys might know what I'm saying.
I think Star Wars only hit on it in nail. He's some kind of creation of Morgan Elsbeth because it was a green puff of smoke when he went out. It's got to be something with the witchcraft.
Like that ties in so well to the
Shin
story.
seemed to be genuinely upset about him. You know, if he was just some construct, some kind of golem, you know, but she seemed genuinely upset that he was.
I think it was more shock than upset. That's how I viewed it, at least.
I got the vibes of fear. Of she was like, okay, I can handle Sabine, and I thought Marrok could maybe handle Ahsoka, but I know I can't handle Ahsoka, and I definitely can't handle Ahsoka and Sabine at the same time. I think that's what that scene was. I hope, honestly, going forward, I really don't hope there's much about Marrok explored other than from the point of Morgan Elsbeth. Go ahead,
He's gone. I don't care.
No, there doesn't being. And can I just point out that like I've seen a lot of people compare him to Snoke, and reasonably so. You know, your Smoke theory sucks. I think there's a huge difference between a character like Snoke, who is the leader of the First Order, has this mass army, has scars specifically wounded on his face.
We thought Snoke was the heir apparent to Palpatine. He was supposed to be. Yeah,
there was 3 years of build up to Snoke. And it's like 3 episodes worth of build up for Marrok.
Marrok is just he's just a dude with a lightsaber, right? He's not the villain. He's a grunt, all right? He's just this guy who's here to help fight. He looks cool. He's a Boba Fett character, whereas Snoke is obviously needs an actual backstory, needs realization on how he got to the place he is and all that. But I just wanted to throw that in there because I see a lot of people saying, "Oh, haha, they did it again like they did with Snoke." I'm like, no, this is completely different than what happened with Snoke.
Yeah, it's completely different.
Yeah.
So what did you guys think of because there's so many aspects to this episode. I mean, there's a lot of different moving parts, and I'm not going to say a lot to cover, but because of how dense this episode was before we even got to the Anakin thing, there is a lot of moving parts here to go over. And one of them I think that's important is Hera in this episode with the New Republic and everything. It's so wild to me because there's so many great moments in this show, and mainly this episode was so good. Hera was the only part of the show that I felt was like a little not that great. You know, I made a joke when I was watching. But she was a big part though. She came to kind of rescue Ahsoka and Sabine. They got caught up. I thought it was funny that she brought her fucking kid to this dangerous mission out in the middle of nowhere.
For her though. Let's be real.
Well, she's a horrible mother then, because her kid could have died in that car crash. But it was cool seeing her team up with like people being of the New Republic and everything. That one guy who's always in all the shows now,
Carson Teva.
Carson, yeah. Whoever's playing him, phenomenal actor.
Where was Trapper Wolf? Where was he?
Isn't he?
I have a better question than that.
Where was Zeb?
Thank you, because this is the one thing that feels like a plot hole. Like they didn't think about it. Like, oh, they gave us Zeb and Mandalorian. Oh, look, hey, it's Zeb. Cool. And he's with the weirdest
thing. Yeah.
Who is he with?
Yeah.
He's with Carson. And he's part of the Rangers, apparently, right? And then
that's a good point.
Hera brings Carson, and Carson will say, hey, by the way, I was just talking to Zeb last week. It's like, why isn't he there?
It seems weird. Carabast.
Well, we all know the real reason he's not there. They don't want to animate him for a whole series.
Yeah, that's the real reason, right?
Yeah, we don't know the lore reason. But yeah, the lore reason, it honestly makes no sense, but it's jarring.
I mean, they could have killed him off when he went into hyperspace. He could have been one of the victims.
They shouldn't have had him in Mandalorian. If they
that's it. Yeah.
That's a simple thing.
Yeah. I thought what they were going to do was they showed him in Mandalorian as a kind of way to tell the audience this is where he is and this is why he's not in Ahsoka. But they brought Carson Teva back, and he was with Zeb, so now that doesn't hold water anymore.
It negates it.
Exactly.
I bet when Dave was directing that episode of The Mandalorian, the Ahsoka show was already written, and he was like, "Oh, hey John, I just realized Zeb's not in Ahsoka at all. I gotta put him in this episode," and that's just what they had to do to keep the fans happy. Because at least we get to see him. But everyone was happy to see him in Mandalorian, but he's not in. Like, it's so crazy that he's not in Ahsoka at all, because pretty much everyone, the kid is on missions with do or die circumstances, but Zeb is not.
You know, you all know how I feel about kids, right?
You love them.
Shows.
And you love
Fuck
us.
them kids.
They're
okay,
banging on the existence of the earth.
Jason being there, even for me, for my crotchety old fuck them kids self. It makes sense when you think of Hera's character, and it makes sense when you think of how the crew of the Ghost was. They were a family on the ship. That's literally what it was.
Yeah.
And if Kanan was still alive, they would all three be fine. They would not leave him with a babysitter. They feel, even if we're going in a dangerous situation, he's safer with us than he is with the babysitter.
If we're
Chopper
gonna
could be a
die, we're
good
gonna die
babysitter.
together, buddy. Like,
Yeah, so it does make sense, and we are getting the whole sense of the force sensitivity because he's like, I'm feeling this.
I got a
doesn't feel
bad
good.
feeling.
This doesn't-
Yeah.
yeah.
He just didn't want to say about this. I have a bad feeling.
Yeah, he
I
didn't want to
know,
say the
I
actual
feel like-
line.
It was like the
kind of-
K2 thing from Rogue One.
stuff
Yeah.
like that makes me cringe. But that's the only bad part of the episode. It's not even bad in most people's
shut up.
circumstances. I'm just a fucking
But hey,
hater.
can we talk about they
If that's
brought back
the worst part of the
hyperspace
episode,
ramming?
then
What would you say, Golden?
They kind of brought back hyperspace ramming.
The hold 'em maneuver,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah,
But except
yeah.
they got tossed around like a bunch of pool balls.
Yeah, this one
that's all
actually,
that-
this one actually makes
Does,
sense.
because what
and didn't
Holdo
break
did was
anything.
1 in a million, according to the Rise of Skywalkers, and this did
Okay,
hit at 1 in a
listen.
million.
and then it happened again at the end of that
Listen.
movie.
First of all, she had 1 hyperdrive. This ship has what, fucking 6?
6.
Okay, I
power
think that brings the
levels are
odds down to 1 in 250,000 at least, or a 1 in 100,000.
Actually,
Okay,
interesting thought. Do these
6
cruisers-
times the amount of hyperdrives,
but it's like,
and they were literally right in front of them. They were like right in front of them.
although I don't know how this works. Like these giant Star Destroyers, do they just have 1 hyperdrive? Do they have an extra big hyperdrive?
Every
Like, how does
ship
it
has
work?
one. Yeah, every ship has 1
Yeah,
hyperdrive.
but some are bigger than others, I imagine.
No, but it's like the Death Star traveled through light speed. Never saw it, but it did. It's like, did it have 1 hyperdrive for a thing that big?
no,
does-
that
does
has
size
well,
not
Well, here's
matter?
the thing. Yeah, I don't think the size matters because remember they have 6 not because of the size of the ship. They have 6 because of the distance.
Yeah. So yeah, that explains it. I was always curious.
Yeah.
But also, I loved the effect of how once the thing entered hyperspace, there was like residue from the path it took. I thought that was really neat to show. We've never seen that. How powerful this jump was. I guess not powerful enough to kill all the X-wings and Hera, but felt powerful.
No, just the non-plot characters, people who aren't essential.
Yeah. One of them was
And I
the,
was right. I said Ahsoka and Baylan were going to have the discussion about things during their lightsaber fight, and that's exactly what happened. And I thought it was the best scene of the whole episode.
Can we get to that then? If we're on that
Yeah.
subject,
You want to get to the lightsaber fights, or you want to get to Ahsoka?
I've got a lot to say about Baylan, man. You want me
Ahsoka
to
and
go?
Baylan, because that was really that whole confrontation with Ahsoka and Baylan, and then Sabine
That
showing
was
up and
the
not destroying the map
climax,
is
pretty
the
much of the entire
climax of the episode,
show.
yeah.
And he
where
was
the
so
actual-
calm. He was so
He's
calm.
collective.
Oh, but I will say, I do think, and this may be me misreading it, I think at the beginning when they were kind of just standing off with each other, I could see him, maybe not, but he looked a little nervous. Like he didn't really want to do this. He really didn't want to engage. And
Well,
he
they
did
had that
fine in
line.
the fight.
Yeah, with a
They
more
had a line. She goes,
Is
"Is that fear? Is that fear I sense?" He's like, "Experience."
Exactly. And that's
No,
that's
no,
so
no,
powerful.
man.
He is such a good actor, and the villain, the fact that someone put this out and they were like, "This is one of the better villains that we've had since like Palpatine in terms of just being interesting." But he's just so fun to watch, and the different approach that he has, and it's almost like he's a great like manipulating therapist because he's telling Ahsoka like, "Your legacy is like your master. It's going to be death and destruction." It's like, "Aren't you on the dark side,
was a
motherfucker?
weird
Like, who
line.
are you to talk to?" I mean,
That was
it's
a weird
him.
line. What did I
It
mean?
is kind of odd. I mean, Anakin, it makes sense. With Ahsoka,
Yeah.
I don't know what he means by death and destruction. Like, who died
Well,
because of Ahsoka?
No, but he can we talk about the fact that he is not bowing at the cult of Anakin Skywalker and Darth Vader? He's talking about him like he
Thank
brought
God.
death and destruction.
Yeah.
Like he's like literally saying,
Our
"This is
fans
your
need to
master
learn."
was a horrible fucking human being."
Yeah.
Okay, he was
Yeah,
just
About
take
a
time
more
horrible.
someone
Clone
told the
fans,
prequel
please.
fans the
It's-
truth. Baylan had to come out.
Isn't it interesting how he seems to know everything? Like, how is it common knowledge? I guess it could be common knowledge that Vader was Anakin. It's like after the Galactic
Well,
Empire War.
he mentioned
does it
that.
just- yeah, but he knows.
He
It's like
mentioned
that's
that.
not common
He,
knowledge.
he
He
said
knows
he
it.
said
It's not-
he said many knew Anakin Skywalker. Only few knew what happened to him
yeah, how does he
afterwards.
know that?
Well, I mean, he was part
He's
of
one of the
Order,
few.
but-
I know, but like how?
Yeah.
It's like
That
very.
is a
it's
curious
very-
question, but don't forget, in
Thrawn
canon,
does.
Thrawn knew, but Leia had a whole thing. Like, there's a book called Bloodline where I think everyone finds out that Anakin
Yeah.
and Vader, and that's So this might be, because this is after episode 6, this might be that situation right here, but we don't know the timeline either. And
that
Baylan
book
would have
took
a
place-
deeper connection.
That book took place just before The Force Awakens, so like way after when this show would take
Oh,
place. I
well,
mean, I
shit.
don't care about the books anyway, but
Yeah, well, then I guess I don't know how he would know, other than that he is, a former Jedi.
but not just that.
He's
He
one.
knows.
He's one of the few.
He knows. It makes sense what he knows about Ahsoka, but he also knows about Sabine. Oh, and big reveal that Sabine's family is dead. That was a big part of her character in Rebels. Now they're all just gone.
Yep.
I can't believe I never put 2 and 2 together that after
The
the bombings
Purge.
of Mandalore that we've heard about for the past few years, I never thought that Sabine's family could be dead. It just never crossed my mind. So I thought that was a wonderful decision. Gives Sabine makes more sense why she would make the decision that she did.
Yeah, and it made that decision so much weightier, because when you're in these kind of shit, when we watch Star Wars, we watch things, you don't expect the protagonist to do it. You don't expect them to do it. Especially one that is not a new protagonist, right? She's a character from Rebels, and she's been around, and she fought the good fight with them and everything. You expected the struggle, but you didn't expect her to actually hand it to him.
How many
You know what
times
I
have we
mean?
seen?
And
how many times have we seen the dark side?
that, my friend, is subverting expectations. That's how it's done.
Thank you, Lunga. Thank you.
That scene in
But he's right, because when you're watching the scene, you're like, all right, this is going to be so much better if she actually does team up with Baylan. The story becomes infinitely more interesting instead of the typical, no, I'm going to stick with my master. I'm more like her than like,
Sabine's not turning to the dark side here for one. She just wants to go see.
We don't even know if Baylan's on the dark side.
Ooh, yeah, I mean, it's an orange lightsaber kind of.
Well, I mean, his
hue. I don't know.
His apprentice was force choking someone. That's kind of dark side.
Yeah, and he told her to stop. Number one, he said, "We're keeping our promise." That's not a dark side. Dark side don't keep their promises. It's usually self-serving. His seems to be a bigger picture thing rather than
he does seem like a villain who has morals, slight morals, and completely maybe wrong, honestly, but like
an ends justify the means kind of villain.
Exactly.
He reminds me. He reminds me in a way of like Thanos, because Thanos was like that too, where he had a bit of morality to him. Like after Tony gave him the stone, he didn't kill Tony, like shit like that. Where he has a goal and he'll do anything to get it, but he's not gonna lose his honor along the way. So I really like that about Baylan.
Yeah, and I really like Shin is basically a nothing character, but she's also great because of that. She has like 2 brain cells. One is used for attack, one is used for defense. She's basically a dog on a leash. And I think when it comes to these 2 characters, Shin and Baylan, they contrast each other very, very well. And I love when Shin finally makes it up after Ahsoka took her and threw her up against a rock, which I thought that was awesome. A little bit dark side, coming out of Ahsoka. But I like how Shin immediately goes to force choking Sabine, and then Baylan's just like, stop. He's like, I made a deal with her. Stop. I thought that was great.
And we've been kind of murky about the force choke in recent times. Like we all know that that is a dark side thing, right? And people make the excuse in the Mandalorian, oh well, those were robots, it doesn't count. But Luke was force choking and force crushing shit left and right with the robots.
Those are robots.
Yeah, here we go. They're robots. They don't count, right? They don't count.
They don't have feelings, Lunga.
But the point is, he's still using the power. He's using it on a non-sentient or life form, a non-biological life form, but he's still using the power. So you just like, again, if you Shatterpoint, great fucking novel, he didn't use force choke in it, but he would use powers that were bordering on dark side powers, and so they can dip into it, and that's where this whole dark Jedi kind of thing comes into it, because it's not really Sithy, you know what I mean? Because there's honestly, yes, I do feel dark side. Yes, I do feel that on with these characters. I do not feel Sith at all. The Sith's power lust, the Sith's greediness, their distrusting of each other, and the stepping over each other for power. That I do not see that at all in these characters.
Now, Shin, I can see her being pretty full dark side, whereas Baylan, I'd say, is
young
like a
and
20-80 or 80-20 ratio, maybe 70-30 ratio of you know, I know people hate the term gray Jedi, and I understand why, but I've always seen Baylan as like some form of gray Jedi, if that were a thing.
No,
He
I think he'd be
still
like a
cares
dark
about the
Jedi.
But
Jedi.
do you see the juxtaposition going on here?
Yeah.
To where it's like Palpatine, when you think about the Sith Master, was encouraging the hate, encouraging
Yes.
the anger, encouraging the stuff to bring out. Whereas she has it, and Baylan is trying to tell her to control it, not stop it like a Jedi, saying
She's
you know
a dog
push
on a
down his
leash,
emotions.
right? She
Control,
wants to
right.
just-
She's
yeah.
learning. She's young, and he's teaching her.
Yep.
So it's the same thing that we saw, but it's just juxtaposed.
Yeah, and when we're on this sort of topic of morality and the standards and stuff, I love this continuation of his. I guess I don't know if you want to call it a character trait, but he did not want to kill Ahsoka. He didn't even seem like he wanted to hurt her. Ahsoka ignites her lightsaber first, and he says, "How inevitable." He's like, he knew it would come to this. He didn't want it to come to this, though. And I like. I mean, his saber is awesome. By the way, it reminds me of a Claymore sword. You know, I think that's great the way he fights and stuff. In fact,
And he
someone
doesn't even
pointed
does
out,
it. It's two-handed the whole time. He's fighting.
yeah,
it like it's a great
someone
sword.
pointed out that at some point in the fight, when Ahsoka's kind of losing, she ends up switching to that form where she uses two-hand top and bottom of the hilt, and she uses heavier swings and stuff in order to kind of defend against him. But
She has to.
yeah,
stronger than her.
exactly. It was nice.
Yeah,
that
It's like
it
it's
was
like
a
a
lot.
it's like a 6-foot Teutonic knight with a claymore fighting a samurai, and that's
Yeah. You have to adapt, and I really, really like that Ahsoka lost. I think that's going to be a very, very good character point in this story or sort of arc that she's going through. She needed to lose. I think there's no other way.
And it played off very well too. I mean, because it didn't come off as like, oh, Baylan just outright beat her and he's better than her. It came off as, no, she was distracted. She's going for this map thing, and that was a mistake. She should have stayed focused on him. It was pretty even, but you could tell this guy is vastly stronger than her. But it also makes Baylan a lot more interesting of a character because Ahsoka has so much battle experience in the lightsaber battle. She has fought Count Dooku, I believe, Asajj Ventress, Darth
Maul?
Vader,
I mean, come
Darth
on.
Maul. She's fought a lot of people. She's fought Grievous, who was a Jedi hunter. But the fact that she could survive all these things and get to this point and then have a really rough go at it with Baylan, it elevates him in terms of villainy. And like you guys were saying, how he said like how inevitable, it's like he is kind of baiting her and goading her and being like, look, I know who you are. You're not the good person you think you are. You are destructive and you're bad, and I'm going to put an end to it. I like that.
I think he had I really feel, again, it's just a feeling, but I really feel that he had a slimmer of hope that he could maybe talk her like he did with
I agree.
Sabine.
Well, he didn't want to kill another
But
Jedi.
then the
he said
moment
the other
she turned
episode.
on the lightsaber, he's like, okay, here we go. This
Well,
right to
I know-
violence, this is what we're doing. Okay.
I also think that he was holding back a little bit. It really seems like in the way, maybe it's just the way it was choreographed, but it really seemed like he was
It was a
kind
lot
of
of
back
defensive.
a little bit, kind of toying with her, but just being more on the defense.
He didn't even throw the first strike.
There-
and that is some.
Yeah,
That's
there's
something
a
he
lot
could pull up.
in these lightsaber fights. Usually, not all of them. You can learn a lot from the fight about who's the first person to ignite their lightsaber.
Yeah, the
Shin
prequels, the Jedi
always-
ignite their
Shin
lightsabers first
instantly
every time.
is throwing hers out.
Yeah.
And Ahsoka did hers first, and she attacked first. And normally, if you're going to do the Baylan therapist bit, he can just be like, "Look, I'm a better Jedi than you. I was on the defense. You drew first, you attacked first. That's not very Jedi-like of you. Why are you coming at me like that? You could have asked for the map, would have handed it over. Who knows? Or talked to her.
Shouldn't he know?
And he did strike
she's
her
not
down.
a Jedi.
Well,
He did. He didn't strike her down. Well, she's not. But
Yeah. Well,
Even though they called that Mandalorian episode the Jedi.
don't bring that up. That's gonna
sorry,
trigger
I'm
Lunga and
confused.
Star Wars only. Don't bring
guys,
that up.
I'm sorry.
you know,
Bring
no,
that up.
I mean, you don't know. Just
bring it
listen.
up.
Not everybody can understand literary prose. Not everybody can understand
Don't bring it up.
symbolism. Okay, because she was
Symbolism,
a
huh?
fucking Jedi. She was a Jedi. So people outside of the Jedi Order, outside of the whole Ahsoka bullshit, are still going to refer to her as a Jedi,
I guess
even
the
though
word
she
Jedi can
quit.
be considered in past tense if you want to say it is Lunga,
don't
I
say
guess.
Well, no,
Right.
listen. You know, the regular unwashed masses in the galaxy who still call her a Jedi are similar to you and Goldman. You know, and the more refined
Yeah,
people are like me,
Jedi
Star Wars
never
only.
got
You
named.
know, it's
Yeah.
just,
yeah. We who drink our coffee and smoke
All
our
right. Well,
cigarettes.
anyway, we don't need to repeat this debate from last time.
No.
Interesting question that has to do with Sabine and Ahsoka's relationship. I don't remember the specific line Baylan gave, but again, he knows everything. He said something about so Sabine's parents or family died in Mandalore, and it was because of Ahsoka or something. I wonder what he meant by that. Like, yeah, we know Sabine and Ahsoka had some sort of falling out, but it appears that there's some connection between that and what happened on Mandalore. That's the vibe I got from Baylan. So I wonder if there's more. I wonder if there's more to Ahsoka and her time between Rebels and this show than we don't know about. That there's some
Maybe
sort of
she
like.
was,
she
there
may
for the
not have.
Mandalorian
Her family
Purge.
may not have died then at the Purge, but if you remember in the season finale of Clone Wars, remember she had to make a decision to either go to Mandalore or to. Well, she did go to Mandalore. She went to Mandalore and fought Maul. So she did go to
Maul,
Mandalore.
yeah.
She didn't have to make a decision. Yeah.
So it was during the Purge. I have a feeling, if anything, my theory on this is that they knew something was happening, and Ahsoka said, "We're not going there.
Maybe.
We're not intervening."
I would think the biggest betrayal of it all, and that would shock a lot, was that, her relationship with Bo-Katan, she was there when Bo-Katan like surrendered and everything, and that led to the death of all the other Mandalorians, including Sabine's family. It'd be a weird twist, and I don't know how they would truly like write it or pay it off, but I do think honestly don't think they're going to address this. I think it's going to be like a small little thing that Sabine brings up, and Ahsoka like explains the situation, and Sabine's like, "Oh, I was manipulated."
Very well. I can't wait to see what's going to happen with their relationship going forward, because that's another thing I'm curious. Sabine betrayed Ahsoka's trust. The whole thing in the first 2 episodes, Ahsoka didn't trust Sabine, and she was kind of guilted into giving Sabine a second chance. And she said, "Sabine, can I count on you?" And she said yes. And Sabine didn't show up when it mattered most.
And not only that, like the episode played out so well because Hugh Yang is literally like, "Hey, do me a favor, stick together." And the second not even 30.
You knew it was coming though.
They split up and everything goes to shit. It's like Golden was just saying, like the dynamic with them is now going to be completely different, which I think is good because it wasn't that great going forward. I mean, even the dialogue with him at the beginning of the episode where she's like, "How are you? Good. Should I be worried about what?" And it's just like, you sound like 2 annoyed fucking sisters. Like, someone actually talk.
But that's what it's supposed to be. It's setting up the tension. That's tension building. And if you didn't have that, what's happening now wouldn't feel as potent.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? So you needed that tension at the beginning, which even I was kind of like, this is annoying. But once we got to this, I'm like, okay, now it's all making sense. Which I'm going to throw another big old matzo ball here in the middle of all this. The complaints people have are like, why didn't she just go get Luke? Why is she getting Sabine? First of all, this is a continuation of this Rebel storyline. This is literally picking up right where that left off, where they were going to go find Ezra. 2, because you're putting Luke Skywalker in the middle of this, who would not have done anything Sabine did. He would have did all the right things, which would have ended the story right there.
And if you bring Luke into the Ahsoka series, he's stealing all the limelight. I'm sorry.
Right.
Yeah.
The second you bring in Luke, all your problems are done.
Yeah, look what happened when Anakin showed up. He stole the show.
I say he ruined it because I hate Anakin Skywalker. No, I'm playing, but still. But you're right though. When you bring in these big characters, mainly Luke and Anakin, the 2 Skywalker characters, it changes the whole fucking relationship of the show. And so I understand the criticism of like, where is Luke and all this stuff, but I would just say, with what we know as canon, Luke's dead by now. Okay, he's long gone, carried on. Luke's story is signed, sealed, delivered, set in stone. We can't change anything.
He's building his temple. We know that he's building his temple with the little robots.
Not everyone needs to always show up. Zeb should have showed up. Luke, we don't care.
Again, it makes sense because this is literally continuing Rebels. Yeah. Okay, because the end of episode 1 was the end scene of Rebels. It's just picking up right where what left off. This is a storyline that, again, like it or not, people can argue all day if Rebels was good or wasn't good. The point is, it existed, and this is the storyline continuing from there that Luke was not a part of. Just throwing Luke now in the middle of it is a huge wrench, and like Star Wars only said too, he would steal the show and it would no longer be the Ahsoka show. It would just be weird.
Yeah, everybody would be like, no, I don't care about Ahsoka. What's up, Luke? How you been?
Yeah. Before we talk about Anakin, I do want to discuss Baylan and Shin's motivations because we still don't really know what they want. Like they want to bring back Thrawn, but why? I don't think they care about the Empire coming back. I think we still don't know. Is there something in this other galaxy that they're looking for? Is there something that the Empire returning gives them, like power? I hope it's not just that. I hope it's not just they want more power. I want there to be something out there that they want, and they actively.
Well, I think. Go ahead, Lunga.
I was gonna say he kind of explains it where he's talking about how he's like Thrawn will bring war back to the galaxy. He's like, yes, he will. He'll bring war and death and destruction, but out of that will come something greater, and not meaning like the Empire. If anyone's from, I don't know how familiar you guys are with Dune as far as the other books, but when you get to the later parts of Dune, the second becomes a tyrannical leader that was like a god emperor for like 10,000 years, and he made everything perfect, but it was so much destruction and death, and it was all to follow this golden path because without all that struggle, humanity would have stagnated, and it needed to go through all of that to go down the golden path and to thrive and prosper later. So I have a feeling, not in that big sense like it was in Dune, but I have a think he that's what he's. It's not that he's like, yes, Thrawn will come back, we'll bring back power to the galaxy as the Empire. That's not what he's doing. It's this needs to happen for something else that I'm looking to happen.
Well, I'll say this. I come at it a different angle. I think he actually isn't really that loyal to Thrawn or the Empire or anything like that. I think it's him and Morgan. I think there's something because I think she's a Dothamir sister or something with like force witchcraft. So I think he has a connection to her, and I think that's where it comes in, where he's like, "Look, whatever her goal is my goal. If Thrawn is her master, so be it. I'm working for Thrawn." But she probably is telling him something about this new region, about these ancient temples, and all this stuff that is connected to the Force. She could give him that. I don't think Thrawn can.
Interesting. I didn't really get that vibe. I feel like that Morgan wants Thrawn. Like she really wants him to return for some reason. Wow, Baylan, I don't think he's as interested as in Thrawn, more in what that galaxy has to offer.
She simps for Thrawn hard.
Yeah,
it's
Yeah, but I'm saying that she's going for Thrawn, and in order to get to him, she needs Baylan, and that's where Baylan's loyalty to her comes in, is because she's promising him something if she can get him to Thrawn.
Yeah, but I do agree. We're all kind of hinting at the same thing, that Baylan's motivations aren't Thrawn. He's part of the puzzle for whatever he's looking to do, but his motivations aren't Thrawn. And just the fact that he talked about Anakin / Darth Vader the way he did, he did not glorify the Empire. That's not what his thing is about the Empire coming back. Mm-hmm. I think he just thinks that Thrawn is a piece of the puzzle for whatever his greater master plan is later.
We did get a super chat from someone saying, "What do you guys think of Baylan's fighting style?"
I love it. I know
said
Jack
earlier the Claymore
styles.
type. I think it's good.
Like I said, it reminds me of, even though like with Darth Vader, you're supposed to kind of get that because he's in the big suit and it was very heavy. Yeah. But he fought more like a longsword style, with power strokes with a longsword. But Baylan, like I said, it was like a Teutonic knight in full plate armor. With a great sword.
Yeah. He was very reserved, even when he was like deflecting the lightsaber or the blaster bolts from Sabine. It was just very tight and like precision movement.
Yeah.
So
that's why I think he was
not even like
against
flashy
Ahsoka.
either. That is true. He could be holding back, but
it seemed like that because it was only the moment when Ahsoka took Shin and threw her up against the rock that he gave Ahsoka this look like, "Oh, you just fucked up. I'm pissed at you now because that's my apprentice and you could have killed her. So goodbye." That's kind of the vibe I got with it.
Do you guys think that he thinks Ahsoka is dead, or do you think that he knows she's just alive and he just kind of took her out for a second? Because
there's no reason. There's no reason.
He seemed
for
unconcerned.
Him to believe. Yeah, that's true. And also, realistically, there's no.
He
reason
just wanted her out of the way for the map.
He doesn't want her dead in the first place. So he did what he had to do in that moment, which could have killed her. But he probably hopes in the back of his mind, okay, I hope she's still alive because she's a very important Jedi.
The goal wasn't to kill her. The goal was just to get her out of the way.
That's the outcome it came to, then so be it, is basically kind of what I got.
All right. Are we ready to talk about the ending?
Right after we read this one, that says Zeb probably hasn't shown up because he's expensive.
That is
Yeah,
the
that's
reason.
what we said.
That's
That
exactly.
is the
Yeah.
actual reason. That's not the
Yeah.
story
Nail on the
reasons
head.
or the lore reasons. That is the Lucasfilm reason.
Maybe
Yes.
not send us
Yeah.
money. Maybe next time just send it to Lucasfilm so they can afford animators.
One more thing before we talk about Anakin and the World Between Worlds. This episode looked fantastic.
Yeah.
It looked
It
really
really
good.
did.
Production quality was
besides
better than that
Anakin,
of typical shows. Yes.
it looked excellent. Every time there's a spaceship, and like when we saw that ring going up through the clouds, that looked movie quality. That looked really good.
Mhm.
The filtering. The filtering was just, I don't even know what.
Yeah.
Was it a sepia for part of it? But it was just it was dark, but not like dark. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It wasn't like that
The-
blue Zack Snyder dark. It was like just
what was the name of this
overcast.
planet? Anyways, it looked great.
Sosa or something like that.
Sorry,
Sor-
S.
Yeah, it's very unique. The
Yeah.
maroon trees and stuff. There were in Ahsoka. There's been some scenes where they're using the volume a little too much in a less efficient way, I will say, especially in the first 3 episodes. But this episode, I agree, Goldman. There wasn't anything that stuck out like production wise. I'm like, oh crap! Like most of the shows, in my opinion, have not the best production when it comes to Star Wars. So it's nice to see something directed as well as it is with the budget they have.
What I've noticed is the volume looks better when it's not a bright, sunny scene. If it's like a bright, sunny
the lighting is
scene,
all over the place in that sense. Yeah.
But if
Yeah,
it's
because,
overcast or darker or evening or whatever, any kind of stuff, it seems to work better. But if it's
because if you look at the
bright and sunny-
lightsaber battle with Shin and Sabine in this episode, and then compare it to the one in the first episode,
Oh
or
god.
even Ahsoka and Marrok when they had their first lightsaber battle, the scenes changed it completely. Because I remember the first 2 episodes being like, this looks pretty bad. Like you can tell a lot of this is like on the volume, not really lived in. And then you get to this stuff, and it looks infinitely better when they're in the Force.
You
The
can
first
look.
episode was nighttime. It's like, what do you want from that scene? To them to fight like in Mustafar and they go all over the place? No, they're just like have a little duel in front of a tower.
The
Okay,
first
but it can look
episode,
good though.
when she's in, I forgot where what area is that in, where she was getting when she originally grabbed the map. This is nitpicking, I fully admit it is, but you pause and look in the background. The rendering on the rocks and stuff is actually pretty horrific. Like it looks PS2 quality, and it's obviously, again, it's a nitpick, and I admit that, but things like that I just see, and it bugs me. But this episode,
And I really think it
none of
was
that.
because it was so bright there, and those columns were so white. You know, I mean, there's not enough contrast. And I
the
think that's what
texturing
caused
wasn't
it.
there. It was like whatever textures they used for it, they were very, very low quality, and so it was just weird.
But if you
again,
have more
it's-
contrast and shadows, those textures don't look as bad.
well, for sure, yeah. But no, I agree. This episode looked really, really good.
All right.
Well, we have one question again before we get to the Anakin thing. And this is actually a good one. Should Baylan be recast, assuming he lives and there is a season 2? Well, we apparently, word on the street is there already is a season 2 in development, but I think Baylan has to die. I don't think a recast is going to be the way to go.
No,
Well,
no.
it's like if the story was designed for him to live, they can't just kill him in the last episode. Unless they like CGI him into a scene. But
Yeah, they could. They could literally just switch it over to Shin being whatever he does later.
no, I mean,
Not that
like
difficult.
when they finished the entire script and such of the series, they're not. I can't picture them just retroactively killing him just because the actor died.
I don't think they had a script for season 2 before Ray Stevenson
Well-
died. I don't.
If he's alive by the end of the series,
Yeah, that changes.
not gonna
everything.
kill him
I mean,
in
the
this
script for
series.
season 1.
If you
Didn't
want
he
me to
die
be
after
perfectly honest,
production?
I don't even think they have a script now. First of all, the strike's been
They
going
can.
on.
Oh, yeah,
Well, I
that's
think
it.
first of all, the strike's been going on, and there's no way they had it already written before the strike happened. Maybe they had some whiteboards and outlines.
Outline. Dave Filoni probably
But
had a
that's
good
it.
idea on what he
when,
wanted.
Yeah.
when he wrote the season 2 episode where Ahsoka showed up, he had this series in mind. So maybe not
Yeah.
specifically everything, but the general strokes.
Oh yeah, no. I mean, he definitely had the beginning stages of at least like the outlines for it. But I would be surprised if like today, right now, season 2 scripts were even remotely close to done.
No.
And that's
Might be
something I
wild
think
before we
this
do
show
that.
has, and I said this about Mandalorian, is that this show seems like it has some sort of plan and full determined idea that they're going to go forward with. And I hope to God that that's the case and we don't get Book of Boba Fetted again. I really, really hope whatever story Dave has in mind so far, I think it's very intriguing. It seems very unique and interesting. I hope he is allowed properly to actually fulfill that story.
So, are we talking about the elephant in the room?
Yeah.
So
Anakin
let's talk about the whole scene, not just how Anakin looked and whatnot.
Yes.
Is she
Yeah,
dead?
yeah. I mean, it was bad. We should be used to Lucasfilm's de-aging. I don't know.
So we're gonna
It's the
say
same
it's bad,
company
though.
that did
I'm
amazing
gonna
shit
say
with
that.
MC. Every MCU de-aging looks fucking fantastic. I don't know why Lucasfilm can't do it, but
Well, look at Indiana
that's
Jones.
neither here nor there.
You
I
know,
thought he looked
Indiana
fine.
Jones
Indiana
looked great.
Jones. Yeah. So, and I thought Luke and Boba looked great. It's here.
Luke and
He
Boba
did
Fett
not
looked
look
phenomenal.
great.
Besides the
No,
voice
he
acting,
looked
he
better,
looked
but
great.
Anakin just
not
looks
like perfect.
I'm wondering.
Anakin
Okay.
looked like a Battlefront 2 skin, and
No. He looked like a Fortnite skin. But in Battlefront, Anakin looks better.
Palpamemes, I saw someone say
We-
you should just
we
use your
all
fucking
agree.
imagination.
Hold on.
Bro,
Yeah, I saw
that should have been
now,
one of the tweets we put up.
we all agree it was bad.
Yeah.
Even if those other ones are good, we know it was bad, but that doesn't change what the feeling of him being in that scene and what that scene meant.
Let's
So
talk
Yeah.
about what happened. Because
But, I
we
mean, it
all
should be
agree that
noted-
it didn't look good.
Sorry, it should be noted that like when I watched it, the second they zoomed in on his face, that was my instant thought. This looks terrible.
No,
Like, that
same.
has
I was
to
like,
matter.
oh, I love this
And-
scene, but
I wish I had
I'm
a
being
live
taken out of it
reaction.
because this is
I
just
wish
not
I
good.
had a live reaction to mine because I was sitting there being like, oh my God, this was like the perfect episode. How fucking amazing. And then I hear, hey, Snips. And I was like, oh, fuck. And then I turn around.
the
and I
line
see him
everyone's been waiting to hear.
Oh, Star Wars
Yeah,
audience used to
oh.
hate
He looked
her.
like Hayden Christensen with Botox. Like
Yeah, he
kind of
looks like
fake.
someone wearing a
Like,
Hayden Christensen face mask. Like it just it
Yeah,
was
but-
rubber. It was very rubbery.
It looked so
Okay.
bad.
Now, when I heard her voice, I mean, the moment she landed, she was laying, not even landing, when she was
We all
laying
know.
there and you see like that blue, I knew where she
That's
was.
when you knew.
It was
Yeah, that's when.
Yeah.
You knew.
100%.
I knew Anakin
I knew where
was
she
gonna be
was.
there. Yeah.
But hey, don't forget
and
that was
then-
a great transition too, from the water to her. Beautiful.
Yeah.
oh, beautiful
yeah.
transition.
Now the one thing that did surprise me is I didn't know we were going to see him just because the way they did his voice, it sounded very echoey and distant, right?
Mhm.
It sounded like the
Uh-huh.
Qui-Gon Jinn voice, early on before they showed him in Kenobi, but it was like this distant voice. So I thought it was just going to be a voice. I didn't know it was going to actually show him. And then
I thought
suddenly
it
his
was
voice
gonna
got
be a
closer.
memory. I thought
Yeah,
she
or
was
something like that.
hear
Yeah.
it. I thought she was gonna hear like, "Hey, Snips," and her be like, "Oh, like happy he's there," but then realize that she's just watching like a memory they had, and it's just him talking to her.
I am very nervous about what they're gonna do with this. I'm
Oh,
very
I-
protective of the world between worlds and how things shouldn't be used to manipulate time or whatnot. And like people are saying, oh, this is Anakin when he's on the dark side, but before the duel in Mustafar, he entered the world between worlds and spoke to Ahsoka. Like that would
Yeah, but here's the
piss me
thing.
off a lot.
Ahsoka looked very corporeal and solid, whereas he looked hazy. If they both look hazy, you could say, "Oh, that's just how it looks in the world between worlds." But she was very corporeal and solid, and he looked hazy.
Some people were
he not-
speculating that he is being controlled by the sun
I would
from
love
the Mortis,
I
and
would
that
love that.
How are you going to throw the Mortis in here in these last couple? The Mortis needs way more explanation.
Dave
Filoni.
random- it's just random
It's
force
fucking
gods.
Dave Filoni.
Like, that's
What
all
do
they-
you mean?
That's all they need
Yeah,
to know. I mean,
Dave
the
Filoni will do
portal,
anything and everything.
the portal to the world between worlds was through the mural of the father, son, and daughter. So I
wait.
don't want it's either I hope it's either a ghost or it's like a some kind of figment of Ahsoka's imagination, or it's someone playing a force trick on her. If it's
It'd be nice
actually
if it was the
Anakin and in the
Force.
past he entered the world between worlds at some point,
Well, this is what I want to ask you
I'm
guys
with you,
because
Wolf, on
they
that, too.
specifically made it to where he is de-aged pretty heavily. He looks very rubbery. And so, like you said, is this just a haze of her imagination? I mean, we know in real life, if you're on the verge of death, a lot of people, it's like their life is replaying in their head. A lot of people who have died and been brought back to life. So that is something,
that.
but
Help me
Okay.
out.
Yeah.
Help me out. My memory is kind of hazy in some of those seasons of Clone Wars. However, the Anakin we saw was obviously Revenge of the Sith Anakin.
Yes.
Okay. Wasn't Ahsoka already? Didn't she already leave before he was Revenge of the Sith Anakin?
What do you mean?
He has his Revenge of the
The
Sith
time.
lightsaber.
Meaning it wouldn't
but
be
he
it
had
wouldn't be an
that-
Anakin because
She-
it wouldn't be a memory because he didn't look like that when she left.
No,
He was still-
remember. She saw him in Clone Wars season 7, and he was Revenge of the Sith Anakin at that time. So if she does see this version of
Oh,
Anakin,
well,
it does make
Is
sense.
it like the
timeline-wise.
last time she saw? Because that's the
But-
thing.
but
Why did they
for
deuse
that
him?
5 minutes before they sent her off
Yeah,
on the
Ahsoka
yeah,
didn't.
yeah.
Well, that wasn't that exchange of dialogue though. He didn't say, "Hey, Snips, it's."
No,
What-
no, but Lunga's just saying like, how would she
Yeah.
know that this is that Anakin? But my big thing with this is, and I'm with Goldman on this, is that if this is like Anakin on the way to like a council meeting, or he just got done killing kids, and he just goes through this portal, I'm gonna be pissed.
There's
because
no
it's-
way.
It does not.
No,
line
he
up
was
with-
too smiley. He was not
That's-
Sith
That's
Anakin yet.
not
He
in the
was not
state of
Sith
mind
Lord.
he was in at all in Revenge of the Sith. And
But
Dave
what if-
Filoni wouldn't
Whatever
do that.
Anakin that is, that's before he turned with Palpatine. It's before
Okay,
he.
but what about
before,
this theory?
before
then? What about this
Mace
theory
Windu.
that because you hear Vader's theme at the end, some people speculated that this is Vader being evil and finding not Anakin when he's a goody two shoes, but Vader when
Yeah.
he's evil, finding a world between worlds, and
I mean,
using his projection to try to.
there
trick
is
Ahsoka where he
precedence.
lives or whatever. I don't know.
there is precedence for that because that's what Palpatine was trying to do with Ezra. He was trying to play
Yeah.
off that he was this benevolent
Yeah.
person
what I hope.
and stuff like that. So
And I think that's the most likely thing that's gonna. I do not think this is Anakin or any Force spirit of him. I do think it's a trick because people have pointed this on Twitter. Like Anakin has his lightsaber there, but it's not the Skywalker lightsaber.
It
I
is.
can't confirm that it's.
I just got the
No, it's
worst idea. The
Yeah,
worst
it
thought.
very clearly is.
No, it's not. The thing
Oh,
was
Yeah,
like
it's
black.
Tell me it's little Annie.
It's not. I zoomed in.
It was not that.
There's
No, it's
chrome
not.
on it. I
No, it was
swear
not.
to you.
No,
Let me get
it
the
looked
picture
more
up.
like Vader's lightsaber.
I just got the worst thought,
not
guys.
even close. 'Cause
Guys,
I looked
guys.
into it
It
too.
I
is.
looked into it too. I don't know what you
It's
mean.
not. There's chrome
Oh
on
my
that handle.
God.
And there's like you can even see. Yeah. No, hang on. Let me.
Anyway, I did not think it looked like the Skywalker
Lunga,
saber
what's
at
this
all.
bad idea
Um,
you got?
That's
I don't give a
you're not
fuck
gonna be
about
able to see
lightsaber.
that, but that is chrome. You
I-
can tell that's the
Yeah, there's no
It
way
was
we're
like
seeing it on your phone.
on the
There's no
activation
way we're
stick.
seeing it on your phone. It is like all dark.
Okay, just
We see a
trust me
little
on this one. It's
shiny-
Anakin's Graplex lightsaber. All right, I looked
I
into
believe
it
you.
myself.
You didn't need any convincing from me, sir.
Right,
I
because
think
you couldn't
can
just do a screen share of something. You can hold up your phone.
Let me just send my phone to my
on our
computer. Sure.
YouTube.
Okay.
No, just anyway. But no, my Filoni is Filoni, but he is still in line, lock and step with the sequels and what comes. Okay, so and we know
That's true.
he's doing stuff to get guided that way. What if this is fucking Palpatine?
Oh God, you're right. Holy shit. Oh my God, you're right.
What if it's Palpatine?
If it is, I will table
it's
flip.
post.
I
it's
will
post
table flip.
Episode 6. It's after episode 6. Palpatine
He'd be
already
an
knows
exegol
about the
right
world
now.
between worlds.
He's just
Oh
hanging
my
on his
God.
little claw machine,
And
oh
don't
yeah.
forget that next week's episode is directed by Dave Filoni, written by Dave Filoni, executive produced by Dave Filoni, and it's coming to theaters near you.
Oh shit.
So
Not near me,
Palpatine-
unfortunately.
Well, I'm in Orlando and I still can't get fucking tickets. Fuck me, I guess. But still, if it's Palpatine, though, I mean, that would make a lot of sense with what we know now. But in the grand scheme of things, I mean, that does fucking suck.
There will be a lot of Star Wars meltdowns, and I'm looking forward to it. Let me
Well,
let
at
me
this point,
let me throw this out to you guys. Okay, we're throwing out the speculation. What if this is just Anakin Skywalker? He's been trying to reach her right before she died. Because he's the chosen one, whether you want to say that's stupid or not, I don't care. He's the chosen one. He pulled her into the world between worlds because
No.
she needs help. Could this just be Anakin Skywalker's spirit? He doesn't need to be a Force ghost in the world between worlds because that's
Well,
a realm within the
that
Force.
is
No,
Well,
because what
what
we
they were
saw
saying
in
here.
what you mentioned, the finale of Clone Wars, that wasn't going on with them.
It
So
doesn't need to be.
It
It is Anakin
no,
in that time. In the time
doesn't make
time that we're
sense.
in, Anakin has been watching her. She dies or is about to die. He pulls her into the world between worlds.
No, he does not have that power. There'd be so many questions.
He's
How
the
did he get to the
chosen
world?
one.
I
How
would, I would,
That is
I would
the
lose my mind.
excuse for anything of everything. I've always hated he's the chosen one, so he can do whatever the fuck he wants.
He's the chosen one who was also kept in dark by the most powerful Sith Lord ever.
and
Okay, I didn't say he was
reached
smart.
his full potential. He never reached his full potential. Him meeting the ones, everything that happens to Anakin is like lucky. Oh, you're the chosen one. Let's bring you to Mortis. And almost the same thing with Ahsoka. She gets saved by Ezra in A World Between Worlds. She's about to die again by Baylan, and now Anakin saves her. That's stupid. No,
Ezra was alive, but this is why I hate those kinds of theories. The Force ghosts, their only purpose is to guide the person they're talking to. That's it. People were complaining about Yoda shooting lightning in Last Jedi. He's like, oh, why didn't he help out Rey during the fight, or why didn't he help Luke in Return of the Jedi? The only purpose the Force ghosts serve is to guide the person they're talking to. That's it. To full on pull them out of time to save them from death, you can argue that's a type of guiding, but no, that's too much.
Okay,
that is a little much.
Maybe she doesn't die. Maybe forget the whole he pulled her into the world between worlds. She is drowning, and in that moment, time stops for her, and she is in the world between worlds through this Force realm, right? Anakin shows up in that to help her. Why could that not happen?
If it's like a spirit, so it's basically a Force ghost.
It's a Force ghost in the Force realm, which, in my opinion, would mean
Anakin has never
but they are
anything
literally
like that.
standing. They are standing in the world between worlds, dude. They are standing there.
I agree. The world between worlds is within the Force realm, is it not? It's not in the dimension, if you want to call it that, of the actual normal physical reality, right?
Yeah. But
so
the question is how did she get there? Was it Anakin? And again, I know Goldman makes a point, but I really think he's a Force ghost, because the way again, unless they were just that bad with the CGI again, okay, but he was hazy. He was hazy and he was kind of bluish, okay, which is
no, he cannot be a Force ghost. I'm sorry, like the fact that he has died and then goes into this. I mean, the Force ghost thing, I think so far would make the most sense out of what we're pitching. But when you said Palpatine, me feeling like this is just
scared now.
I could see them doing some dumb shit like that, man.
Yes. There's going to be an explanation in the next episode. There's no doubt about it.
I hope. Sorry, if you remember in the earlier seasons of Rebels, before Ezra actually went to the World Between Worlds, a lot of the time he was just like in the Lothal Jedi Temple, and he like sat on a stone and then kind of just entered the World Between Worlds with like just a single ring, and then he was talking to Yoda that way. I hope it's something like that, where she's not really there like Ezra was, where she's kind of just taken out of the moment briefly to talk to Anakin or whatever, and then she's gonna wake up and be right back on the shores of this a beach or something.
Yeah,
and that's a good way to put it too, because I was going to ask you guys, like, what we're all saying, like, oh, who brought her in here? Was it Anakin? But my thought was, like, what if she actually like just stumbled into it wherever she fell and all that stuff? Like, what if the temple that they were at had access to the world between? Because if it's not Anakin who pulls her into it, or whoever else pulls her into it, what did get her into the world?
Just dumb luck. Just happened to land on it.
That's all she fucking gets. She fucking has dumb luck with all 50, 90 years she's been alive.
Can I say
Ezra saved her? Anakin saved her. She's not dead by Rise of Skywalker.
We were talking about how, like, Force Ghost shouldn't be in the World Between Worlds. What if Anakin's only able to show up there to her because of his connection with her and how close he was with her with the Force? So it's not like, Obi-Wan could just show up, or Yoda, or whoever the hell you want to say. There's got to be an actual connection between these two Force spirits in order for this to actually happen.
Well,
would you be more okay with that?
To that, I would say this is most likely like a premonition, like her hallucinating or something like that, or the Force projecting what she wants to see instead of it being a spirit or a ghost. Because I feel like the second you bring in a spirit or a ghost into the situation, it complicates it into a way where the World Between Worlds is already so fucking complicated, and we don't really have a great explanation for it yet. And
yeah, but that's why it seems weird to me. Because she's in the World Between Worlds. Why would that happen if she's there? They don't jive to me.
The Force plays mysterious tricks on you.
But I wouldn't have to bring you into the World Between Worlds to do it.
Well, she's been there. And Ezra was there.
But she's been a lot of places. She doesn't have to go to World Between Worlds for this.
I don't know. I think
she does, Lunga.
I think the World Between Worlds.
Whatever happens, I'm telling you, the fact that she's seeing Anakin is happening because she's in the World Between Worlds. Those two things are linked. Period. The end.
I'm also just as big of a concern as how Anakin is there and how she got there. I'm concerned with if they're gonna use this to, like, she's gonna walk to the other galaxy. Like there's gonna be a portal there.
Oh
and she
my
just falls
God.
there.
It's like 5 feet.
I mean,
long.
it is kind of a wormhole. That's a world between worlds.
No,
Is
because-
it's not just time, but also space. You can enter and enter
That would
somewhere
make
else.
that would piss me off too. Oh my god.
What if, okay, but what,
would be
like, let's
silly.
say what,
Could
what
be
if they do it in like a good way where like I don't know, maybe like Ahsoka sees that Sabine's about to die and all that
That's
shit.
a narrative
She
cop out.
saves-
And that's no, it doesn't matter.
Oh,
If
it's Star Wars.
the whole point
Dave
of,
Filoni.
the whole point of the
Mhm.
World Between Worlds episode in Rebels was she taught Ezra that sometimes you need to let go and that you can't manipulate, you can't just save someone because you want to. What Kanan's sacrifice did led certain events to happen. Without Kanan's sacrifice, Lothal wouldn't have been liberated.
But
so it's
didn't
like if
Ezra
she-
save
she
Ahsoka because
just-
he wanted to.
Ezra is a younger Jedi, and that's a little different.
All right.
So we.
Well,
we
I
don't-
mean,
we
there's
didn't know
also
the
the
outcome.
whole play on stuff like, oh, she was supposed to die. How do we don't know that. It could be that what happened was what was supposed to happen. You see what I'm
Agreed.
saying? So it's not necessarily if, oh, you changed it. No, it that's what was supposed to happen. So getting pulled out by Ezra and is that didn't change anything. That's what was supposed to happen.
Yes.
So it didn't break what the world between worlds is. It still kept, kept
it
in line.
seems
Now, you
hypocritical.
saying it pisses you off if they went through space? There seems to be a lot of quantum physics going on with this whole idea of the world between worlds. So the fact that it's a place between time and space, it could easily, the way that it could warp and fold, you could easily do the whole paper trick with a pencil and just pop out somewhere
sure,
else.
like-
It's very feasible.
it doesn't bother me because of the force science or whatever. Like, sure, they could feasibly do it. It just seems
Convenience.
It seems
plot
like
convenience.
a narrative cop out to just that Ahsoka lost this battle and then she's now just magically woke up into this place and then she can now magically get to where Sabine and Ezra and Thrawn are.
Well, Dave Filoni wants what's best for his baby girl. I mean,
Well,
what's he
okay,
gonna?
but
Oh, you want I saw someone mention it. You want the scenario that's going to piss Star Wars only off more than anything? Supposedly,
what is
I
it?
guess there's another theory that someone mentioned in the chat was that
Oh, yeah,
she's
let me
going
go
to
through
see
some of
what the world would have been like if
Yes, yeah.
she stayed and fought
Oh,
Anakin
we're
on
getting-
Mustafar.
There's some talks of
See,
like
that's-
the next episode is like supposed to be. I mean, because you got to think the next episode's coming to theaters, so it's clearly going to be a very big one that a lot of things are happening. Theorizing.
So are
Oh,
we saying
someone-
it's probably got to be at least a 60-minute episode then if it's going
It's
to
They said
50
that-
It's going to be
minutes.
huge.
it's at
Yeah.
49 minutes.
This one says
Yeah.
there's rumors that Ahsoka is going to see the outcome of what if she didn't leave the Jedi and she fights Anakin.
And I don't mind that.
That's the one I was
I
mentioning.
do. I
You
hate
like that? I thought you would hate
That
that.
sounds.
I don't-
That sounds
I don't-
so.
It
Talk
doesn't
about fan
sound
service.
like an alternate
you
reality.
go.
to me. Like Sabine or Ahsoka had a vision like that in Clone Wars, where she saw like her future self. If it's just like, oh, this is what could have happened, I don't know. We've seen shit like that before.
Okay, her future self that is a misread by like the sun and everything, the dark side on that planet, and then actually going to a different reality where you see her fighting Anakin in live action in her own show when none of this was ever mentioned or talked about in any of the 9 Star Wars movies we have made. No, I'm sorry. There's limits to some of the stuff that it does become fan servicey. I hate to say that. I feel like Anakin's appearance is fan servicey at the end of this episode, but whatever, it works because we know Ahsoka and that fits in line. But her going to like a different world or seeing her fight Anakin on Mustafar, just give the budget to some YouTuber.
I know at that point I will agree. I will agree with Star Wars only on one thing. It starts to feel like huge Filoni hubris at that
A
point.
little too far.
It starts to feel like oh, you know what? What if my original character took the place of Obi-Wan?
Thank you. Thank you so fucking
Yeah.
much.
It's not-
That
it's
is
not-
that
it's
is
not
how I
changing
feel
the-
about Ahsoka all the time.
He's
It
not
is
changing
all,
Sorry, he's not changing the events of the canon. If it's just like she looks through a window and sees like what could have been,
no,
I don't know.
he's
And
not
if it's
changing
a
the
moment of
events
character
of the
reflection
canon.
for Ahsoka, I don't mind that. If
He's,
she
he's not
walks through
changing the
portal and
events
she's
of
like
it, though.
there,
He's changing canon though by doing
No, he's
this,
not.
and that's
No,
what
he's
it. No, it is because
How?
this is adding new stuff to canon.
okay,
it is-
that
it will
is
now
not
be-
changing the canon. If she just
Okay, but
looks
no, but-
through
but
a
no,
window
but
and is like watching a different version of the
And,
things,
but that
It's-
is now a canon thing you can do, and that isn't because then we're gonna have.
Yeah, okay.
What if, what if Obi-Wan could see if he really married Satine after all these years in the old quiet life? You could, I don't want to fucking see this shit. All right.
Okay.
It either happened or it didn't. And to make this character that is only Dave Filoni's, to bring her into every little aspect of Star Wars we can, to now we're redoing the prequels in a way by filming it with Ahsoka instead of Obi-Wan. It's just way too fucking much. There's a limit on fan service, and it's funny because Dave Filoni is the ultimate fan, because he went from being just a fan of the franchise to now, you know what, you nerdy motherfuckers, we're looking at my imagination now.
He's living
right?
a Star Wars dream, is he not? Like he
How
goes.
is he not? I know, right?
Yeah,
He's on top of the world.
I feel like Palpamemes. I mean, I'm in Chicago. It's a pretty big city, and there's no screenings by me either.
Yeah, we're doing
I'm by Disney World. I'm literally by Disney World, and they were like, "Oh, the Orlando Disney Springs thing is already out," and I'm like, "How is it fucking out? There's not that many. Like, there's so many theaters. Like,
Wait a
I'm willing
minute,
to pay you
fucking
money."
Boston has it, and not Chicago. Fuck you, Boston.
Well, they got
Get the
hot
fuck
with
outta
the
here.
box.
Get the fuck out of here, Boston.
I wonder
I'm
if
sure.
this-
Seattle.
Seattle's the hood.
Seattle. Really? Get the fuck out of
There
here.
were like 10 screenings in the U.S. At least
Yeah,
that's what
it's
it showed
only
on
10
the
total.
If you only have 3 total in the entire country, it's New York, Chicago, and LA. That's how it goes.
Tell them. Let them know.
But hey, I mean, maybe
like they're gonna listen.
Well, I don't think there's a lot of money to be made during
It's
this kind of thing.
Free. Yeah, you get in for
Oh,
free.
it's free and well,
Yeah.
shit. I didn't
Yeah,
know
it's
that.
free
That's
tickets,
what
yeah.
makes
Yeah.
sense. Oh,
there's-
well, they could have made money
it's
for it.
free press because of the writing strike, let's be honest.
That's true.
Yeah.
That is very true. Did we talk about the views for the first episode, the
No,
premiere
we-
thing, that whole debate that they had about it? Because that was like a topic for like 2 days, and then it completely died
It's
out.
not a topic anymore because the episodes do the viewership's going to go up. There's buzz.
I feel like now it will. I feel
People
like
are gonna-
now that we
Maybe.
have this episode 4,
The
I feel like
episode-
it is going to get high.
Guys,
The episode got a 9.2 on IMDb.
the Luke
Very good.
Skywalker episode in Mando season 2 was lower viewership than episode 1 of Mando season 2. So I don't know if we can genuinely say it's going to go up, but the 14 million's literally right around half of what Stranger Things season 4 on average did. So take that as you will. I think that's pretty good considering Stranger Things is like one of the top shows of the past decade. That's all I have to say about that.
That's fair. That's fair. It was surprising that Ahsoka got lower viewership, but at the same time, not really. I mean, there's so much going on in the world and with the streaming landscape. I'm just curious on if it's going to end on a higher note, because clearly the show is getting better, and this next episode is supposed to be like one of the biggest things that we get.
And
Yeah.
Can I-
9.1 out of 10.
that's really good. Can I give you guys the biggest nitpick that I've ever shared in this Chatooine show history? And it has to do with Rosario Dawson's performance.
Oh, good.
The I didn't notice this at first, but when the way she says Anakin is not the same way animated Ahsoka says Anakin. Everyone calls him Anakin, like A-N. But Ahsoka would say Anakin with like a Y in there.
Well,
But
listen,
Rosario
we
said
know.
Anakin.
We know the
Oh, no,
problem.
that-
Just
that-
join,
that-
just join,
like, I
just join the
noticed that, and I
fandom
was just
menace. You know, you want Ashley Eckstein.
it-
You don't want a Latina actress with her accent
Right. I don't
saying
know.
it. You want
was a
white
little
Ashley
thing I noticed. I was
Eckstein
like,
to
why
be
does it
Ahsoka.
feel like Ahsoka? Oh, because Ahsoka says Anakin very distinctly. Same
Look,
thing.
because one
Oh,
was
dude.
Ashley Eckstein, another one's Rosario Dawson. That's what.
Look, far be
Rosario
it
done
from
her
me
homework.
for criticizing her
Yeah,
acting, but
biggest nitpick,
even in,
but
this, even in this episode, like I don't feel like the acting was mostly only from Rosario. She, god damn, every time she turns or like looks at someone, she crosses her arms. Like her arms are always fucking crossed.
Well,
And
in Clone Wars, she always had her arms crossed.
Not
Even when
every
she was
goddamn
young,
thing.
she was always. Oh, it was a
And
lot.
she's
a lot.
She's older and more mature. That's what like the masters do. You know, they cross their arms. Gandalf did that a lot. That's what they're trying to do. Like
You know,
I
here's the
don't recall
difference.
Gandalf crossing
She
his
doesn't
arms
have no.
one
No.
fucking
Think
Yeah,
about the
he
other
did it
Jedi.
100 times.
She doesn't have the big voluminous sleeves like they usually do to show it.
Oh yeah,
Shit.
yeah.
Because they're usually always like this. They got their arms in the sleeves like this.
Look, all I'm saying is that she looks great as Ahsoka, but damn it, I would like for just a fucking hint of emotion. She had a great emotion when she was fighting. The lightsaber fights in this episode, phenomenal, and she really like brought out a lot of facial emotion. But when it comes to like talking to people and everything, I'm
What do
not
you want
here
from her? You want her to
talk
start
about-
crying when she's having an awkward conversation with Sabine?
She's like
No, I
Qui-Gon
just want
Jinn.
good
She's
acting.
she has to be stern. She has
No,
Sabine, who is like a 13-year-old girl.
don't you start
I
with
disagree with
don't you
that.
start with
Oh,
the Qui-Gon Jinn shit.
I'm gonna
Don't
go
you
there.
start with that.
She
I
is
don't-
basically
I-
Qui-Gon Jinn,
no,
right?
no,
She's got
no, I've
a lot
always
on her
hated
shoulders.
this.
She's trying to change.
No,
this
she's
16-year-old
not.
girl.
No, I
Qui-Gon,
hate
no,
this-
she's not.
I
Qui-Gon
hate
Jinn,
this
first
dry
of
acting
all,
argument.
First of all, Qui-Gon Jinn wasn't dry. Fuck you. Okay, number one.
I didn't
He
say
wasn't
that. I
dry.
said
No,
she was
No,
stern.
I said Star Wars only. Star Wars
Oh,
only
he
was
was
the
so
I
dry.
apologize.
The prequel acting was
Because
terrible.
he's the prequel hater. You know that. So he's like, you were
Yeah,
so
he's
dry.
wrong. He's a
Liam
big fan.
Neeson is God's gift to acting. Shut up. Anyway, it wasn't dry. And if anything, Liam Neeson portrayed him as a very, very empathetic character. Okay, he was huge with empathy and feeling when it came to the Force, and even though he didn't do the emotions, but his character was a whole thing too. He did run on emotions sometimes of what was right, rather than the dogma of the Jedi, which is why he was kind of always in trouble. But he had a lot of empathy, a lot of caring. Just when you see him with those scenes with Anakin, you could tell there was a lot of empathy and caring for there. Ahsoka has grown to be very cold. She cares because she believes she's supposed to care, but she's very cold.
A lot
Yeah,
has
she's like
happened.
cynical.
I hope they touch on that.
Yeah.
It's
I'm not
something I
saying it's a
mentioned-
bad thing. I'm just saying that's
No, yeah, I'm
there's
just
a big difference between her and Qui-Gon.
adding more to what you're saying. It's like she's got in her mind, like literally the weight of the galaxy on her shoulders. She's got this
No.
basically 14-year-old drama girl who listens to Bring Me
She's
the Horizon, you know,
Being
who
30 years
acts
old.
out. I'm saying in comparison, she acts like, you know, so in Ahsoka, she has to reflect that. She's like, okay, I gotta be.
I don't know. No, I don't buy that reason. I just think
She's
over
been
the course
through
of
a lot,
time,
man.
Yeah, she's been through a lot. Not that she's stressed about the galaxy and having
No,
weight on her
she's
shoulders.
I think it's
she's
both.
No, I'm
scarred.
with you,
I just
Lunga. I'm
think
with
it's
you.
bad writing, and the acting
it's
is
not bad
not
writing.
that great.
It's
I
not
mean,
bad
Every
writing
time,
to have a
that's
master
listen,
beat.
Star Wars only. Every time you don't like something, it is not bad writing. There can be good writing that you
you.
just don't like.
Yeah,
no, you're not
like how
wrong.
you guys don't
But-
like
but-
The Last Jedi. Good writing that you just don't like.
Okay, no,
And-
bad example. Now that you man, leave it
Both
to
are
you
great.
to try to sneak that one in.
I love poking in there.
anytime he can bring up the Last Jedi and give it a little
Yeah.
praise.
Hey,
But
you guys
I'm
take
No,
your
that
shots,
was
I'm gonna
that
take
was
my
just
praise.
bad writing.
Oh yeah. Uh-huh.
There's no, but
Revenge
I
of the
feel
Sith was bad writing. Great film, great movie. I loved it, but I think the dialogue writing in this fucking series is pretty not great. Like Baylan is great, but I feel like that's because of the actor Ray Stevenson's really bringing out stuff to life. Ahsoka, just fucking Anakin.
will agree with you
Oh.
only that the dialogue writing wasn't the best for the first 3 episodes. I think episode 4 it was a step up.
Changed
I'll
it,
agree on that.
absolutely.
I'll agree with you on that. But I think the
Great
emotions
writing.
or lack of
I just
emotions
think
That's how we're
that
gonna
you're
win.
showing
Not
makes sense.
fighting, but we hate.
Lunga's
It's the
triggered.
great writing.
I got Lunga. I got him good. But anyway, I think you guys confuse awkward dialogue with bad writing. It's like, how do you expect
That
two
is
people...
literally what it is.
I know.
It's
Lunga,
bad
Lunga,
writing.
we're right. They're like, oh, awkward moments, bad dialogue. Because I bet you if someone played a clip of you going on an awkward date and said it was a movie, they'd be like, oh, this is bad dialogue. Like, that's what happens when you're awkward and
Oh,
there's
Goldman.
tension between two
I
people.
don't know. I've never had an awkward
With
date. I
someone
don't know. I don't know what that feels like.
I was about to say, first of all, bold of you to assume I've ever been on a date. Second of all, like, no, with this stuff, this is not how people talk. And these people have experience with each other. These people know each other. For her to be like, how are you doing? Good.
Okay, listen.
Should I
it's
be
like
worried?
talking
No,
to an-
come
it's like
on.
talking to an ex.
Now you're just being obtuse about it. Okay,
Yeah.
you
No,
know
no,
there's
this is-
tension there. No, there's tension there that she
Yes,
was
there's
training her and it
tension.
didn't work out. And it is a sister-like thing. And I think it's because they were close enough in age and she was training her and it became this headbutting situation. So there's tension there. They don't want to say they hate each other. They're still caring for each other, but there's a lot of tension. And this is the first time th've seen each other in a while. So yeah, that makes sense for them to be that way.
It's like running into your ex a little bit. It's like, it's going to be awkward.
Yeah.
No, or it's like, have you ever had when you're young an argument with your parents? You run to your room, then you come back out for dinner. You're not going to be, you're not going to be sharing your entire life story with them or what's going on at school. You're going to be like, okay,
Or like
You're
you ever
lucky
get
that you
into
got
a
the
fight
hat
with a
on.
friend?
The uncomfortable silence that happens when you don't know what to say to each other. That
It's supposed to be that way, and
yeah, exactly.
bad writing.
Okay, so
Goldman,
but
I
I'm
want
allowed
to
to get
throw you a bone here,
secondhand
though,
cringe
Goldman.
when I watch this.
With your example of awkward dates and stuff, are you implying? I'm not throwing words in your mouth. Are you implying that Anakin Skywalker is indeed, as I've said, written very, very well in Attack of the Clones?
No, he's written as a creep.
Is
Thank
that good writing though?
No.
Does it
No,
work
it's
I
for
don't
who he
way
is
like
as a
right.
character?
like Matt McFat brought up. I don't like sand.
Because Anakin was acting like a creep and a weirdo, and that wasn't George Lucas's intention.
Yeah,
stop,
it was.
stop looking at me like that.
No.
Why?
It wasn't his
You're-
intention. No. I'll give me credit. It wasn't his intention. However, we've all realized, and anyone who is not just bowing at the altar of George Lucas 24/7 realizes he wrote it and they had no idea how bad it sounded.
Yeah.
Okay, a
Yeah.
good writer will go, yeah, no, that doesn't sound right.
I'm not gonna argue with that.
Okay.
I won't argue.
So yeah.
Stop
That's-
looking at me like that. Why
that's-
not?
It's making me
It makes me
uncomfortable.
uncomfortable.
Sorry, milady.
You know what's something funny? I did an Attack of the Clones video, and I was talking about Anakin and Padme's relationship, and I was like, if there's any women watching this video, big if. I was like, is there anything about Anakin and Attack of the Clones that would make you fall in love with him? And I did get a few comments, so yay me. But they're all like, no, Anakin's a creep, and I would avoid him at all costs. So I just thought that.
And
was entirely funny.
it's a failure of direction because George is behind
True.
that camera,
True.
listening to Hayden, who was a very young actor and inexperienced, hearing it, going, "Yeah, that sounds good." It's like you just let's do another take. Let's try it again. Let's try it again. You know,
George is a fucking awkward ass actor. By the time Attack of the Clones was being made, he was in heaven because all he had to do was sit on his fucking chair with big blue screen in front of him.
we'll fix it.
and
We'll
go,
fix it in editing.
Yeah.
We'll fix it in editing.
We'll fix it in post,
editing.
Hayden. Wrap it up. Action. Oh my god, bro! Me and my friend, we make fun of the Phantom Menace documentary, the beginning, all the time, because of the small little things that George does. Because he is awkward, where he goes like, "Oh, this one's real, not so real." And he like gets the wrong one. It's like it's so fucking corny. And there's a guy who comes in. He's like, "So, do you want me to say action or cut?" He's like, "I'll say action or cut." If I forget, you can say action or cut.
Classic.
You guys watch the James Cameron interview with him, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, multiple. times.
Absolutely.
Am I the only? I mean, James Cameron is a great director, obviously. Why wouldn't he shut the fuck up and let the man answer? I mean, James Cameron was constantly like, "Yep, you, yeah, oh, yeah, what is it? Oh, yeah, and I'm like, I couldn't get a string of thought. Like George is confusing enough to listen to, right? I don't need you like getting in the middle of what he's saying.
You know, keep the
You
camera
can't.
on George and then just cut out. Unless there was just
Yeah,
one
I'd love to
microphone,
listen to
who
James
knows?
Cameron any day.
Hey, I will
Yeah.
say though,
His
James
movies,
Cameron-
not interviewing George Lucas.
We said a couple weeks ago he should do his own Star Wars trilogy.
You
Give
said
him
that.
full
we
creative
mentioned that,
control. Yeah, well, yes, we because
Not me.
because I'm always right. He should be doing his own Star Wars trilogy.
No, sure.
Based in the Old Republic. You give him 20 years to make these films the way he wants to. I don't even know if he's got 20 years left to live, but I think it would just be perfect.
All right.
James Cameron
Well-
can save this.
All right. Before we wrap up the stream, let's make some final predictions as to what we think is going to be the resolution of Ahsoka and Anakin and the World Between Worlds. Like, what do you think it's actually happening? Whether it be a
Somehow
ghost.
Palpatine came back.
So you're going with you think it's actually Palpatine?
I'm gonna go with the worst case scenario, so that way anything that happens is gonna be a step up.
Oh, I hope it
So-
happens now. I hope it happens.
Yeah.
I wanna
The
see a
toxic
full-on
motherfucker
meltdown.
me is kind of rooting for it now.
Yeah, I'm kind of
I'm
with Goldman.
My prediction is that that's not actually Anakin, and it's either the son or someone else, or herself, like giving her a premonition of fake Anakin.
My prediction is this is simply Anakin helping Ahsoka out. And in that moment, Ahsoka is going to try in the World Between Worlds, because she's in it now, to try and go back and change some things. And Anakin's going to teach her, hey, just like Ahsoka taught Ezra, you can't change this. This is the way it has to go. You are on the right path. You just have to follow it. And I think that's what we're going to see.
I'm gonna throw a wrench in all of this. I think it's Ezra. I think Ezra is now on the dark side after spending all this time with Thrawn, kind of like Baylan.
Is this your
Yeah,
genuine
sure,
prediction?
fuck it. No, I have no fucking
No,
idea.
he's just being.
But I think Ezra's doing his time with Maul. He's became a dark side person, and he's using the world between worlds to get access to Ahsoka to get some of his power. He's got to sacrifice her to Dave Filoni or something. I have no fucking idea. As long as it's not Anakin, like actual Anakin, I'm fine. If it is any type, if it's Anakin at all, his personality, him being, we're done. You
Hayden
fucked up,
Christensen
Hayden.
is
This is
great
not a
as
debate.
Anakin. First of
We're
all,
those were final predictions. We've debated this.
that's it. I think Ahsoka's in a
Alright.
dark place, and Anakin's going to help liven her up and motivate her. Say, hey, this is the path. You can't change it. She's going to try and change it. Anakin's going to say, no, that's not how this works. Keep
I
following
think it's
this path.
anything. I think it's anything but Anakin.
I
But
think you're just a
Palpamemes
hater and a fake
problematic.
fan. I mean,
I mean, that's per the experience, but you guys also think Hayden Christensen's a good actor too. So I mean, what the fuck do you know?
I think he portrayed Anakin well.
All right.
Maybe in a beginner's
Let's end the show
acting
here.
class. we got one last super chat. Thank you very much. Saying hot take instead of along with Hugh Yang. How the fuck was I supposed to say that? We should have old man Rex in the
Hugh
show mentoring. No, I meant like
Jesus
the instead
Christ.
of / along.
Oh.
Mentoring Ahsoka and Sabine. Hoping to see Rex next week.
What
I
could
don't wanna
Rex
see
have to mentor Ahsoka about?
Listen,
Hey,
first of all, she's going to the world between worlds. She's going to go into another fucking galaxy. If there was going to be a Rex, he would have been episode 1. There's no reason to throw Rex in the middle of this. To be honest with you, even the Hera thing, it felt weird because if they were just going to have them get there too late and not be able to stop them, what was the point of her being in this episode?
We'll find out. Tension.
Find out
Hera?
next
No,
week
no tension.
on
It added
Chatooine.
nothing.
Was she gonna actually stop the ring? But she didn't.
It let me know that I should fire the costuming person at Lucasfilm because when I saw Hera and her son in the same room at the same time, I was just like, damn it, this was looking so good. And I see you two
Oh, you're the worst.
green motherfuckers coming in.
Whatever.
No, the costuming
That's
department's
just
the worst.
racist. Come on, man. Really?
Well, I'm
We're
just like my
speechless.
daddy and his daddy before him. All right. I don't like green-haired little boys. Any other chat
Wow.
shit we got? No.
Good to know.
I'm sorry, Lunga. I can't
know.
say it. Yours isn't green though, and you're not a little boy. All right.
Green hair matters, man. Yeah, you're just wrong for that.
Yeah, well,
Gosh, that Jason is throwing so much confusion. Like I talk to people at the gym all the time, Lunga, about Star Wars and stuff, and they're all like, "Who is that?"
We know you're doing it. We know it makes sense that there's more talking going on at the gym than there is gymming.
I worked there. I managed the place. Oh my damn god! I saw your
I haven't
look when I
talked to
said
a
that,
single
Lunga.
person.
That was
I'm
hilarious.
sorry. You
That was
walked.
hilarious.
Not only did you walk into that, you literally dragged me into the room with you.
You were looking at me funny, and I had to make sure.
I'm
you were
looking
on
at
the
my
same page.
camera. What the
I
fuck are you
knew
talking
where the
about?
keys were at, all right?
Oh, that was hilarious.
Holy shit.
I'm gonna be absent for the next 2-3 weeks, maybe. Just
We're used
Well,
to
you-
it at this fucking point.
That's what usually you do anyway. So you're just you're
I'm like
we know
Davis,
you're on
I
a
just-
part-time
I just
schedule.
kind of run away, you know.
That's why we had to cut your benefits. It's okay. We understand.
Yeah, I need
Thank
my
you guys
interest
for
back.
joining chat.
Might replace you with that
our
one guy on
special
Twitter.
guest, Palpamemes.
Oh yeah, let's get that one guy on Twitter who keeps asking.
You fucking assholes. He's probably watching. Thanks to our special guest, Palpamemes, for tuning in.
Glad to be back.
We'll see you this time next year, 2025, actually, 2 years from now. Is when we'll have you onto the show next.
Yep.
But check us out on Twitter, Instagram. I think we have a Discord and a TikTok.
Discord we never use.
I don't even have access to Discord myself. Still.
Yeah,
So,
let's make
Oh,
sure,
you
guys.
go there, you can't even use
if
it.
anyone's active on there, wake up the people on Discord and let them know.
I think someone messaged it the other day, and I was like, "Oh, I forgot about this."
Yeah, I think we all did.
Be sure and subscribe to the Chatooine channel itself if you're watching on Star Wars Only's channel.
Yes, please.
At
Yes.
some point, we're going to be merging. I know we've said that like 20 times, but at some point, we will be.
Well,
merging.
I mean, even regardless, the merging is. I know you want to say, hey, if you want to watch this, you have to see us there. I mean, it's
Yeah.
just guys. If you like the Chatooine show, it makes sense to subscribe to the
throw up shorts on
Chatooine show.
now, so, yeah.
Just-
Well, and that's true because eventually everything will just only be on Chatooine. We're doing what we're doing now to get it more subscribers. And
the name will be
like,
changing soon. It's gonna be called Chatooine only.
Will Star Wars only actually upload on it?
Probably once every year, maybe.
Yeah,
I'm
maybe
back,
Dr.
guys. Don't
Every
worry.
now and then. Yeah,
Hey,
the people,
how does Dan know that I'm the one making the shorts? That wasn't announced. There was no statement put out, or there was no credits put out for
we
that.
have inside sources.
Who's the leak? I know, the part-timer. That's the leak.
Wait, I thought I was Dirty Dan. Fucking asshole. Oh my god! All right, well, thank you guys for
no one else
watching.
would put the effort besides Lunga to make those.
No, it's all AI.
Oh yeah.
You still got to push
Thank
some
God.
buttons.
No,
Yeah,
I do gotta
that's a
do some
lot.
changing, some text. Hey, actually, it takes quite a bit. Fuck you.
He had to. He was like, "Yeah, it's not a big deal." Wait a minute.
It doesn't get all the text right, you know. I actually have to go in there and correct it and
That is
better it.
true. I
And,
messed around with it a little bit. That is true.
And that's why we pay you and not Palpamemes.
Yeah.
All right,
they
thank you guys
pay
for-
pay me in fucking cashews.
All right, let's
guys.
do our
That's
outro,
what they
guys.
pay
Come on.
me.
I'm leaving.
All right, goodbye.
All
Thank you
right,
again.
Thank you guys for watching.
Wow.